Hello and welcome to the goal setting webinar of MedPoint Healthcare Center's Stop Waiting program. To follow along in your workbook, turn to page 7. So a little overview of today's presentation. We're going to be discussing what is a goal, why is goal setting important, how to create effective goals, the different types of goals, results and action goals, and finally, how to track your progress. So before we get into the teaching today, I want you to take a moment to reflect. Use the space in your workbook to fill in the following. Write down in your workbook what you think a goal is. What are the components and important features of a successful goal? Brainstorm some examples of previous goals you've made in the past. Reflect on how those goals turned out for you. Were they useful? Did they help you succeed? Did they show you the way? Or did they lack the detail needed to achieve your mission? What worked and what didn't? So what is a goal? The Merriam-Webster defines goals as the end towards which effort is directed. So why is goal setting important? Why make this the first webinar of the program? Well, goals help to show us the way. Goal setting is a crucial component of change. And when you think about it, making changes to our eating habits is behavior change. And this is why goal setting is absolutely so important when we endeavor to make any changes to our diet. Goal setting gives long-term vision and short-term motivation. Setting and recording goals allows you to track your progress over time and helps to demonstrate to yourself your accomplishments. Goal setting can also help us focus. Without focus, your energy and efforts are squandered. Goal setting also helps plan out when you're going to get started, when you're going to be finishing, and set yourself up for some sort of action plan so that you can stop procrastinating and begin. Without a clear plan of how we are going to accomplish something, we are planning to fail. This is such an important step in making any behavior change, as I said before. A lot of my clients are very reluctant to start goal setting and writing down what their plans are, but I promise you it's going to make the biggest difference. Let's start with an example. Meet John. He wants to improve his health and his relationship with food. He is motivated to decrease his emotional eating. So John has written down a very brief goal here. And again, his motivation is to improve his health and his relationship with food. So the goal he's recorded is to decrease emotional eating. What do we think about this goal? Will it lead him to success? Does it have the detail needed to be able to plan his next steps? No. This is a very vague goal without a lot of actionable steps for him to take next. So how do we design goals which are effective? Not all goals are created equal, as you have seen with the example with John. Effective goals are motivational, detailed, measurable, and attainable. Without motivation, there is no fuel to start. Motivation serves as the spark, but it's not the thing that's going to carry us through to success long term. Motivation is something that we use up by the end of every day, when we're behaving ourselves in public, when we are following the rules of our community or our society, not screaming at people while we're driving on our way home. So motivation is the spark, but not the carry-all. It's important to choose something which is meaningful to you. So choosing a goal which speaks to you and is meaningful to you is an important first step. Details are so key. Though we cannot foresee all potential obstacles, planning the details to help us adhere to the plan, such as what, when, where, and how, will really help iron out the details and avoid upsets before they even happen. Measurable. How do we know if we've accomplished anything unless the task we endeavor to start is measurable or trackable? Attainable. Don't set yourself up for failure. Choose a goal which you can accomplish and can accomplish in the long term. This builds confidence and motivates us to continue. So here's the recipe for an effective goal. However, there are two kinds of goals we want to think about. Kinds of goals. Results goals are like long-term goals. Action goals are like short-term goals. How do you create goals which set us up for success rather than an expectation hangover? It starts with recognizing the key differences between a results goal and an action goal. Results goals are like the top rung of the ladder. For example, I want to be 20 pounds lighter in 4 months to improve my health. Results goals are the bread and butter of change. They usually hold the motivation behind your change plans. So establishing a solid results goal is paramount. Alright, so this goal sounds great, but there is something missing. How do we accomplish this goal? It's missing specificity and there is no actionable component. Action goals. These are the bottom rungs of the ladder and need to be conquered before the top rung is reached. What actions are needed to be accomplished in order to achieve the results goal? Some examples here. I will eat only until satisfied, chew my food well, and put my fork down between bites at dinner Monday through Friday for this month. Or, I will eat vegetables with lunch and dinner 5 days per week this month. Another example. I will drink a sparkling water in between each alcoholic beverage every time I go out for dinner to cut down on alcohol for 2 months. Use your workbook. For each webinar, complete at least one of these sheets to help you clarify your next steps. So let's see what John has come up with. His results goal, I want to stop overeating. The action goal he's set to achieve the results goal. What? I will pause during a meal to check in with my body. When? Partway through my dinner, 5 days per week for the next month. Where? At my kitchen table. Why? To interrupt the autopilot. How? I will ask myself how the food tastes, if I am hungry, and if I'm being influenced by distractions. Obstacle. Forgetting. Solution. Putting a sticky note in the cabinet with dishes to remind me. You can see the big difference that writing out action goals with all of those details, keeping in mind that you want to be able to track this, that it has to be measurable, that it has to be attainable. You can see how this seems much more manageable than just the results goal, where a lot of people like to leave it at. Simply resolving to stop overeating, that doesn't have any of the detail or any actionable component in it for you to know what your next steps should be. Much better, John. Tracking. So you think we're done here, but tracking is just as important as clearly and specifically goal setting. The next step is writing down your success. This makes the goals real to us, physical commitment rather than a mental one. We can barter and make deals with ourselves as to whether or not we should keep these if they are not real physical objects, which you can review later. They're also easier to remember when we write them down. There's many different ways you can use to track. The one resource we've provided to you in your workbook shows here that you can record essentially anything you want to track, and we've used a weekly structure. So you simply have to shade in the box if you've achieved the goal on each particular day. Next steps. So take out that page in your workbook and begin to record your first results goal. It can be anything, don't worry too much. We can always change it, we can always add more. Next, pick one action goal you want to focus on until the next webinar, which is going to serve that original results goal. Finally, choose a method of tracking this action goal. So in summary, a goal is defined as the end toward which effort is directed. Goal setting is important because goals help to show us the way. Effective goals are motivational, detailed, measurable, and attainable. Kinds of goals include results goals and action goals. Tracking and recording goals' progress makes them real and increases accountability. Thank you so much for watching.